Okay, so welcome back. We are starting the second session of chapter 8 of the Gita. So we covered the first 4 verses last week, and we will cover the next 3 verses. So as always, we'll start with some chanting. Anu, are you present? Are you available? Okay, so we'll wait a little bit more time. She will come and chant. So let me quickly recap what we covered last week. So please keep this framework always in the mind. Always in the mind. The Bhagavad Gita is an elaboration of the Mahavakya Tattvamasi, thou or that. The first 6 chapters of the Gita predominantly focuses on who am I, and the second 6 chapter focuses who is that Lord or Ishvara, and the third 6 chapter shows the connection between me and Ishvara. So this is the Tattvamasi, and we are on 8th chapter, and 8th chapter is predominantly talking about Ishvara, because 7th chapter we have seen that, 8th chapter it continues, 9th and 10th chapter you will see Vishwarupa Darshana is going to come, Vibhuti Yoga is going to come, Bhakti Yoga is going to come, Rajavidya Rajaguhyam is going to come. Predominantly the whole 6th chapter is focusing on Ishvara, but that's not the only topic, predominant topic. Please be clear. So in the 8th chapter, we said the main theme of the 8th chapter is Upasana. And last week, we took again 5 minutes and tried to explain what is the difference between moksha, upasana, and karma yoga. Moksha is our ultimate goal, but means for us to be eligible for moksha, you need mental purity and mental stability, or control of the mind and the purity of the mind. And the karma yoga is a practice that is going to give you the purity of the mind. And the upasana yoga is the practices that is going to give the stability of the mind. I'm purely talking from an Advaita Vedanta framework. This is the model of Shankaracharya. Because the other day, Poonaji was asking some question. Is there other models? There are other models. Means you have the Kundalini Yoga. There are different types of models. I'm purely talking from an Advaita Vedanta model of Shankaracharya. That is what we are following in these sessions. So this chapter predominantly focuses on Upasana and Omkara Upasana. And that is why this chapter is known as Akshara Brahma Yoga, or it is also known as Taraka Brahma Yoga. And I also mentioned last week that this chapter is a kind of a deviation from the theme we have been seeing in the Bhagavad Gita. So far, Bhagavad Gita was predominantly focuses on me or the Atman, but this chapter takes a slight deviation. And what is that deviation? Because the chapter opens up with a question from Arjuna. He asks 7 questions, and Krishna in the first 2 verses, he answers the answers for the 5 questions. And then he devotes the entire rest of the chapter for that 1 question, which is completely a deviation from the topic we have been going through. But mind you, this is an important topic. So that's why he took that deviation. And the 9th chapter, he comes back to the central theme of the Gita, and it goes through that. So the chapter opens with 7 questions from Arjuna. Anybody remember that 7 questions? What are they? 6 of them refers to the technical terms. What is the real meaning of these technical terms? Anybody remembering what was that 6 questions? What is Brahman? What is Atman? What is Karma? What is Adhideva, Adhibhuta? What is Adhideva? And what is Adhiyajna? So this is the essence of the first 2 verses. And the next 2 verses, we heard Krishna answering about the first 6 questions. What is Brahman? Aksharam Paramam Brahma. The ultimate, indestructible, fundamental, absolute reality is Brahman. That is the definition given by Krishna. Remember that? So the reality behind everything, the reality behind everything that changes, the cause behind every effect, right? Because the uncaused cause, the absolute reality, that is Brahman. And that is the only reality. Everything else in the world is a manifestation of that reality. At the macro level, that reality is known as Brahman. When that reality manifests through an individual body, it is known as Ati Atma. So Atma means the essence of a body, that which enlivens the body, that gives existence to a body. That context, it is known as Ati Atma. And in the macro context, it is known as Brahman. The literal meaning of the Brahman is Brihi Vrthade, meaning that is the largest, that is the ultimate, that which pervades everywhere. That is what Brahman and Adhyatma. And the third question was, what is karma? So Krishna gives an interesting definition. He said, Visarga, every offering, every action you do, right? Whether it is physical, mental, or intellectual, anything you do with a karana is a karma. And any conscious action you do is what is going to give you the next birth, because it is ultimately the karma that gives me the next body. Because if there is no karma, there is no birth, no rebirth. So karma refers to anything that I do with a karana. Karana means it is the physical karana or the subtle karana. The physical karanas are the 5 organs of perception and the 5 organs of action. And antakarana is the mind and intellect. So anything you do, right, whether you're seeing or thinking or even feeling something, it is a karma. So any conscious karma is going to give me an impression which goes to the Sanchita karma and eventually gives me rebirth. So we talked about Brahman, we talked about Atman, we talked about karma, and then the next 3 questions were Adhibhuta. Adhibhuta means that the material cause of the universe, right? That by which the elements of the universe, by which all these physical objects are created. So that is Adhibhuta. Adhideva is the phenomenal forces that controls the universe. Again, that phenomenal forces comes from the nature. And that power you can see at a macro level, at micro level also. In your body, you can the power of sight, the power of hearing, all that is Adhideva. Adhibhuta is the material, Adhideva is the phenomenon, right? The ability to perceive, the ability to see, all that is Adhibhuta. Adhideva. And finally, Adhiyajna. Anything that you offer, right? Ultimately, that offering goes to Ishvara. So in your body, means whatever ayajna you do, meaning whatever offerings you do with your body, and whatever offering the body gives, it all goes through Adhiyajna, and that is what is Adhiyajna. And ultimately, all the yajna goes to the absolute reality or the Supreme Lord. Remember, even we quoted Rigveda, the first mantra is Agni Mele Purohitam. Even in a symbolic yajna, when you offer something to a yajna, what happens? It is a symbol. Agni is only a postman. Like it is the carrier that takes your offering to the ultimate destination. And ultimate destination is the absolute reality, Brahman. And that is what we saw. Any questions? Great. So we can go to the next verse, verse 5. So let's,
Rajesh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anu, you can chant. Let me just share the screen. At least people can see the verse and then we can stop. Anu, you may chant.
Okay. Shall I chant the first?
Yeah, now let's start with verse 5. At the end, we'll chant first 10 verses. Sorry.
Okay. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayah.
So Krishna answered the first 6 questions in the previous verse. Krishna answered the first 6 questions, and now he's going to answer the 7th question, right? So the 7th question is, what happens to the being? Means how can a being, living being, keep his mind unto you at the time of death? Remember, the context of this chapter is upasana. What is upasana literally means? Upasana means sitting closer to the absolute reality. So when you sit closer to the higher being or the reality, what happens? Your mind is not agitated. Your mind is not anxious. The mind is not extremely depressed. The mind is stable. So Arjuna said, I understand that. I understand at the moments of inspiration, the mind is stable. I understand that at certain time, the mind is stable. When I understand that when I meditate, my mind is stable. But remember, when somebody is about to leave their body, when somebody is about to die, how can you keep that stability of the mind? And what happens to that people who can keep the stability of the mind? So how can you extend the upasana in such a way that even at the time of your death, you can stable? So is that possible? And what is the benefit of doing that? That was the seventh question. And now Arjuna answers that. Hope you have the soft copy of the verses. So Arjuna tells, Antakalecha mameva smaran muktva kalebaram yap prayanti samatbhavam yanti natrasya samshaya. A big assurance Krishna is saying. Antakalecha mameva. Mam eva. Eva means alone. Antakale means the final time of your life. At the end of your life, smaran muktva kalebaram, the person who holds on to me and leave the body. I'm just giving you the literal meaning, and we are going to come back and discuss the deeper meaning. So, antakalecha mameva smaran muktva kalebaram, the person who leaves his body, means thinking about me, what happens? Yap prayanti samatbhavam yanti nanyatra samshayaha. He is going to attain my state. There is no doubt about it. So the literal interpretation of this verse means, at the time of death, if you leave the body, if you give up the body by thinking about me, what happens? He is going to reach me, no doubt. We talked about this earlier. This verse was terribly misinterpreted. A lot of people thought that, if I translate that to a Christian language, you can say that a death but conversion wipes out the sin of your entire life. That's what it means? Absolutely not. So here, the word smaran is figuratively used. We talked about this earlier, right? So a lot of times, for example, if that person has 120 years, he may not be even in a lucid state, right? He may not be even remembering about himself. Suppose somebody has amnesia. How can they remember the Lord? It's impossible. And a lot of people at the time of their death, they might be under sedatives. How is it possible? So this is not what Krishna meant. What Krishna meant is, right, what exactly is my mental state? What exactly is my mental makeup at the final moment? If that mind is holding on to Ishvara, right, means it cannot be just temporarily holding. If your mind has already united, and if that mind is already established in that higher reality, there is no doubt that person will not have any return. And this is known as Jivan Mukti. Krishna is talking only about a person who has achieved the Jivan Mukti. So Jivan Mukti means while you are alive, you are enlightened. If you're enlightened, what is the difference between an enlightened person and a normal person like you and me? For a person like you and me, what happens? My identity means when I think about myself, Of course, I know the Vedanta. I read the Vedanta. So I know that means I am not the body, but my feeling is that I am the body. I am the mind. I am the intellect. That is my experiences. Even though theoretically I know that I am Atman, that has not brought into my experience. Why? Because means my mind may not be 100% pure. My mind may not be 100% stable. And that is why the Vedanta, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana may not have achieved its higher state. And I'm still doubtful. Even though theoretically I know that I'm Brahman, that may not be my practical experience. So such means we are not talking about that person. Here we are talking about a person who has understood his real nature. Once you understand your real nature, what happens? You are completely connected with God. Thereafterwards, your identity is Atma. Your identity is Atma, and you are established in Atma. And Krishna is saying that that person, there is no rebirth. At the time, means after that, once he leaves the body, he will come to me. So basically, Krishna is saying is that a wise person is a person who knows his true identity at the time of the death. Like a Ramana Maharshi or a Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, they know who they are at the time of the departure of their body. So we must know that it is the capacity, means for such people, their identity is not with the mind, their identity is not with the body. They have already identified with the Brahman, the absolute reality, and that is experienced. So here the word smaran means it is figuratively used here. What Krishna meant here is that the one who has knowledge of Brahman, the one who is reveling in Brahman, such a person at the time of death, he will definitely reach my state. There is no doubt. For such a person, there is no rebirth. After that, his identity will be with the absolute reality, the Brahman, the true nature of the Ishvara. So this is the benefit of establishing in the Lord at the time of death. Because here we are going to see one more option. A person may not be fully established with Brahman, but he has sufficiently practiced. Another type of mukti is called, it is called a krama mukti, because this chapter introduces two types of enlightenment or the moksha. One is called as Jivan Mukti, the other one is called Krama Mukti. So here we are talking about the Jivan Mukti. Jivan Mukti means he has enlightened while he was alive. Now, you may ask me, right? When that person was born, was he enlightened? The answer is yes and no. Certain people, they are enlightened while they were born. What we call such people? Anybody? There is only one case the person is enlightened at the time of birth. We call that person with a specific name.
Incarnation.
Avatar, right?
Avatar. Exactly. That
Buddha?
is Avatara. So Avatara means coming down. So an Avatara means, the definition of an Avatara means it is not, is born because of karma. The Avatara came because Ishvara wanted to rectify something in the universe. So when this universe, right, when it deviates from its stability a little bit, maybe due to the growth, I'm just borrowing the language of Swami Vivekananda. He brilliantly introduced this concept in his book, in his lecture called My Master. If you have his complete books, complete works, please read this lecture. At least the first paragraph of his lecture called My Master. He was talking about Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. So in that lecture, he tells what exactly is an avatara. He introduces this avatara brilliantly. He tells when this universe of ours, right, maybe due to the changing circumstances, or maybe due to the account of growth, when it destabilizes itself, when the stabilization goes beyond certain threshold, that the dharma means that is what is dharma, right? Dharma means the absolute order of the universe. When that deviates beyond certain time, a correction is required in this universe. So God himself manifests in the universe and he fixes it. That is called avatara. And avatara do not need enlightenment because at the time of birth itself, the avatara is enlightened. The second category of the people, they are born because of karma, but they might be almost there to gain moksha. So such people, what happens is, maybe in this life, they realize the truth and they becomes enlightened. And that people are, we are calling as Jivan Mukta Purusha. They attain the mukti or they attain the moksha during the life. So such people, they will not have any birth at all. So he just answered that first part. Now he's going to elaborate on this topic a lot. So any questions?
So Rajesh, the Krama Mukti is when someone is almost enlightened and then goes to...
Correct. So there are two muktis. Let me just give a preview of that. We haven't reached Krama Mukti, but it is very important to understand this, right? So at the time of death, one may have three possibilities, or in fact, four possibilities. First possibility is what? He was not at all interested in the spiritual aspect. He might be he might be entirely devoted to money, or he might be entirely devoted to wrongdoing. Such people, what happens? At the end of their life, their karma is going to determine the gati of their next life. They are going to reborn in this world, means it may be here or some other world, we don't know, but they will be reborn according to their karma. If their focus was entirely on the money, their direction will be in that. Money means in the money making direction. If they were committed to something else, that would be the case. If that, remember the karma, if that is predominantly high, that will determine the direction. So that is option number one. Option number two, somebody spent their life completely on the spiritual matters, but they didn't reach anywhere. So such people, what happens? Again, they will reborn in the world, but they will be, their direction is again to pursue their studies. So that is number two. Number one is a bhogi. Number two is a yogi at the beginning stage. Number three is a yogi at the advanced stage. A yogi at the advanced stage means he is almost there, but not yet fully established in the Lord. When you are not fully established in the Lord, at that end time, you cannot establish yourself in the Lord at the time of the departure. So that time, what happened? You are not yet united with the Lord yet. So that means he will be born, but not in this earth, but into Brahmaloka. And eventually he will gain that knowledge from Brahmaji. This is again a matter of belief. We cannot prove it. We cannot disprove it. Probably this is the only thing in the Gita that has so much of post-mortem concepts. So after your death, the scriptures tells you that you go to the Brahmaloka. At the Brahmaloka, what happens? You will be taught by Brahmaji and you will get enlightenment. It's a two-stage mukti. Whereas the Jivan mukti is, you get the mukti here and now. So on a broad level, three things. One, who has not yet enlightened, that person will reborn. The person is almost near enlightenment, that person will get Krama Mukti. And a person who is already enlightened, he will get Jivan Mukti. And thereafterwards, after death, what it is called, Videha, means he will be united with the consciousness. No more birth. This is the idea. So again, this Krama Mukti is a topic which is a matter of belief, and we can choose to believe, not to believe. That is not going to affect our spiritual path at all. That is not going to change any sadhanas, because you will have to still do Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga. Our goal should be always Jivan Mukti more than Krama Mukti, because Krama Mukti, nobody has came back and told us that, yeah, I got Krama Mukti. So it's a matter of belief. Excellent. So anybody has any other question? Okay, so let's go to the next verse. Anu, could you chant?
Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam.
Sorry, you can chant.
Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha.
So here also it is just an elaboration of the previous idea. What exactly is my gati? Gati of my Atma, and that means after the death. That is what the topic is. So Krishna tells, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. Smaran, again the word used here is smaran bhavam. The word bhava is typically translated as state. So the bhava means whatever is the state of your mind at the time of your departure, right? When you give up the body, whatever is your mental makeup or the predominant state of your mind, then what happens? Krishna tells one goes to that very state, O Arjuna. So Krishna tells, again, the same idea. We talked about that earlier. So whatever is the state of the mental state of a person during his final stage of his life, that direction he will travel after the death. So let's take that 4 examples we talked earlier. So an enlightened person, can you tell me what would be his state at the time of death or his final period of his life? If you take a Ramakrishna Paramahamsa or a Ramana Maharshi or any enlightened person, what would be his condition of the mind at the time of his final days?
Thinking of he'll be like ready to go, right?
No, he don't want to go.
He is in the advanced yogi state.
Yeah, he is, means what is his identity?
Already as Brahman.
Yeah, he is identified with Brahman, right? So what is your state at the time? Means when you are in a dream, what is the condition of your mind? Let's say that in dream, somebody got corona, our good old example. What would be in the dream state? You're a corona infected person, right?
Rogi.
Yeah, you are a rogi. But if that in that dream, like at the end of the dream, if that dream becomes lucid dream, what would be your state? You know that in this dream, this is a dream, and that dream, it is corona, but my real identity is different. Once it is a lucid dream, do you identify yourself with that dream body and the dream mind?
No.
And do you feel sad when the dream body and dream mind goes?
If it is bad, yeah, very happy.
Right. No, actually, what I was trying to say is that your identity is not that dream body and dream mind. Your identity is the person who is lying in the bed.
Correct.
So an enlightened person, enlightenment is exactly like that. You are living in the dream, means this relative world with relative time and relative space. But where exactly is my identity? I know that my identity is different. I know that this body is a body given to me to transact with this world. That's it. Think about the same example, right? In the dream world, you were given a body, you were given a mind, and you were given, means for what? For you to interact with that dream world, isn't it? Do you use your real body to interact with the dream world?
No.
Correct. So, for an enlightened person, even though he is living in this world, he knows his true identity. He knows that this body is not me, it is given to me. Remember the example we talk always. His idea is, I have the body, I am not the body. But for you and me, the idea is what? I am the body. So that person, his identity is not with this body. His identity is not with his mind. His identity is with consciousness. And what is consciousness? Ishvara, Atma. So So that is what Krishna tells, right? Smaran me. Remembering me means connected with me. Connected with me means it is not connected with your body. It is not connected with your mind. It is connected with consciousness. So an enlightened person, at the time of departure, his identity will be with consciousness. Whether he is physically awake or sedated, it doesn't matter. His identity was already established with Brahman, and his identity will continue to be Brahman. And at the time of departure, what happens? He will reach the Brahman state, or there won't be any rebirth. Now, the second category, a person who is almost near. So what is the predominant talk? So let's say that yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. What exactly is the dominating state of the mind at that point of time? So a person who is almost near the enlightenment. A person who is almost near the enlightenment means what? His mind will be pure, his mind will be stable, and he is almost digesting the knowledge. But he is not fully digested it, but it is almost there. So what happens? His gati will be determined by that, and that is where the krama mukti comes into picture. Now let's take the third example. A yogi who is doing the practices, but he has not yet reached the purity of the mind. He has not yet reached the stability of the mind. Such a person, such a yogi, what is going to happen? If you're not speaking, could you please mute? Yeah, thank you.
He'll be reborn, right?
He will be reborn, but his rebirth will be determined by what?
Better.
Yes, his practices, right? So in the 6th chapter, we said, Krishna said, such a person may reborn in a family or in an environment or in a situation, or he will encounter some life situation which will help him to continue his practice. So that is the third category. Now the fourth person, somebody is not even worried about God. Somebody is not even worried about enlightenment. He is after money, how to make money, and 24/7, of course, with dharmic means. Let's put that way. He is working hard, sweating 24/7. He is working. Of course, he will be reborn, but what exactly is his direction, his likes, his passion? That's where he will be reborn. And suppose somebody is completely adharmic. He doesn't care about the other human being. He is not following the dignity of a human being. He doesn't care what happens to other people, right? Kamsa, right? Take the example of Kamsa. Kamsa wants to kill Krishna. What was the easiest way? Kill all the babies. So when you kill 100 babies, Krishna also will be killed. You can see such people in the human history. Look at Stalin.
Yeah, but I know, I'm sorry to interrupt here. I know Stalin part is interesting for me too, but Krishna's in Krishna's case, in Kamsa's case, wasn't that a punishment for him by the Lord, that yes, they have to take 2-3 births and they have to finish it? So even after doing all this, will he be reborn?
Of course, he will be reborn. Again, where he will be reborn. Even if you take that story, right? The Jaya Vijaya story.
Correct.
So the Jaya Vijaya story, Jaya Vijaya, are they enlightened?
Yes, after that,
no, they are not enlightened. Devas are not enlightened yet.
No. After the 3 births, won't they get enlightenment?
Still, they go back as Jaya and Vijaya, right? They didn't go back as enlightened.
Okay, got it.
That is another birth.
Got it.
So you can, means there is only one way to get moksha. That is knowledge.
So the Hiranyakashipu, same thing, the hierarchy, the 3 pairs, right? The 3 brothers, the 2 sets of brothers, 3 in 3 generation, they all were supposed to hate Bhagwan so that they can reach Bhagwan. So why is that after doing all that, they are not able to reach Bhagwan?
They didn't reach Bhagwan. Means, see,
the condition was, he said, I will give you 7 births that you can keep praying to me and come back to me after the 7th birth. Otherwise, you hate me for the next 3 births. You be my enemy and then come back to me, right? So they opted to be Krishna's enemies, in all the 3 births.
Yeah, these stories are put for illustrating certain principle, but let's traverse through that story, right? So before that, let me make one point very clear. What is moksha? Moksha is not Bhagavad Samipyam. Moksha is not like going to heaven. Moksha is not being near to Lord. So Jaya Vijaya or any such people, moksha is not reborn in the heaven. As long as you are a separate entity from Ishvara, the moksha is not there. You may have a better life. You may have better conducive environments. For example, let's assume that somebody goes to heaven. The difference between heaven and earth is they may have a better living condition. I always compare this example. A person living in Africa, if he can imagine the lifestyle of US, it is like a heaven.
Correct.
So like that, you may be in a better place, but what is the problem of even going there? Once your punya exhaust, you will have to come back. So moksha means as long as you see Bhagavan separate from yourself, the moksha is not there. The moksha comes only when I get my real identity. And what is my real identity? It is not separate from Bhagavan. So until that, this will continue. You might get a better life. All these stories, what exactly is the promise given to them? You can come back to me. They're coming back to Bhagavan and serving Bhagavan there, but still they have a separate identity.
Okay, so they're like the gods. They go back to their god's position.
Demigods. So whatever it is, there was. So
in the sense, what I meant was Dwarapalakas.
Yeah, that's it. So, but that is different from Bhagavan.
Correct. Okay.
This is the clarity. Even if you take that Purana stories and go through that direction. What I was saying is that, right? So what is predominantly means dominating at the time of your death? You will be going in that direction. So if you are fully, means I said like, if you are a Jivan Mukta Purusha, you will not have any rebirth. If you are an advanced yogi, you will go to the Krama Mukti path. And if you are a beginner yogi, you will reborn into an environment which is conducive to your practice. And if you are a bhogi, right, or a materialist, you will be sent to a direction which is conducive for that. And finally, if you're an adharmic person, if you do a lot of adharma means consciously you are doing something, what happens? You will be going in that direction. So this is the karma. So whatever Krishna highlights that point in this verse, whatever is the predominant mental condition at the time of your, the end portion of your life, your gati of your soul will be determined by that. And there is no doubt about it. Krishna tells. The condition of the mind at the time of death is going to determine the direction of your next life. Whether you have a next life or not, or if you have a next life, which direction you are going is determined by the condition of the mind. So therefore, don't just blindly read Ajamala's story and don't think that a death-birth conversion can wipe out all the sin. That is not going to happen. So if you want to have a predominantly good mental condition, start right now. That is the theme of the next verse. So let's listen to the next verse. Let me share the screen so that you can see. Okay. Yeah, Anu, could you chant? Anu, you there? You might be on mute.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yam yam vapi smaran bhav.
The next verse, verse 7.
Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhya cha mayyarpita mano buddhihi mame vaishyasya samshayam.
Brilliant verse. This is going to answer all these questions. So Krishna tells, don't wait for the last moment. You think that last moment you can just think about Ishvara and get into heaven. That is not going to work. So tasmat, therefore. So he is logically concluding. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu ma manusmara yuttaja. So therefore, every time try to connect with me and do your duties. So some devotees may interpret Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu ma manusmara. Don't do anything, right? Just sit in the puja room. That's not what Krishna asked. Remember, this advice is given to whom? Arjuna, right? Arjuna is in the battlefield. So what exactly Krishna meant when he say that ma manusmara yuttaja, think about me and fight. Here Shankaracharya interprets it is dharma. Be conformed to the dharma of the universe. Be a karma yogi. Because right now I am not enlightened. I am not fully connected with Bhagavan. Be a karma yogi. Whatever you do, follow the spirit of karma yoga. Ma manusmara yuttyaja means do all your action as a karma yoga. If you remember, what is karma yoga? Proper work with the proper attitude. So every action I dedicate as an offering to Ishvara. So just like I do the puja with flower, I am worshipping Ishvara with my action. So morning I'm getting up, I'm brushing my teeth. Yes, it is a dharmic action. So I can dedicate that to Ishvara. That's it. Because I'm brushing my teeth to keep the dharma of my body. So that is a dharmic action. So anything I do, I can offer that to Ishvara. And what actions come under these dharmic action, proper work? It is very simple. Krishna had already explained this in the 3rd chapter. We are going to see that in the next 1 or 2 weeks in our Sunday session. Krishna tells every rajasic action and the swatik action can be considered as dharmic actions. Rajasic action means actions that I will be the only beneficiary, but I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not cheating anybody knowingly. Swatik action means I might be a beneficiary, but other people are also beneficiaries. And swatik actions are typically called as Pancha Mahayajna. We talked about that earlier, right? You're consciously supposed to do that. So if you follow a lifestyle where you avoid tamasic action, I might be the only beneficiary, but I will be cheating and hurting a lot of other people. Avoid tamasic action. Of course, you will have to do rajasic action because you have to live your life. So rajasic action is okay, and do some swatik action and with proper attitude. What is the attitude? Every action I do is an offering to Ishvara, and whatever results I get, that is means prasada from the Ishvara. That is the simple definition of karma yoga. So tasmat sarveshu kaleshu means do every action as an offering to Ishvara. That will purify your mind. Ma manusmara yuttyaja. And what is the beauty of karma yoga? Mai arpita mano buddhar. So you dedicate your mind and intellect unto me, right? It's beautiful. Mai arpita mano buddhi. Your mind, your feelings. Feelings refers to the results. Whenever you get a results, what happens? You may feel sukha, dukkha, labha, alabha, jaya, apajaya, right? Some results might be victorious. Some results would be failure. Some results would be profitable. Some results would be loss. Some experiences in the life would be pleasant. Some of the experience may not be pleasant. Whatever it is, take it as a prasada from me. Because after having done the best you have in your pocket, what else you can do? Accept it gracefully. And karma means, buddhi means the type of actions you pick, I should pick it in such a way that I'm selecting only swatik and rajasic action. And that is why it is called yoga karma sukaushalam. The 2nd chapter we saw. The dexterity in action. Dexterity in action means ability to select proper action, because every moment life is giving multiple possibilities in front of me. So I should be diligent to pick up the right action, which is dharmic. That is point number 1. And then Mayarpita Mano, like all results, whatever it comes to you, after putting the best, leave the rest to God. Whatever you get, take it gracefully. So Mayarpita Mano Buddhir. So he tells, such person will come to me eventually. There is no doubt about it. So there is no mystery here, because this chapter is always misinterpreted. A lot of people say that it is very easy, right? Just do everything and do at the last moment think about Ishvara, you will be reaching me. That's not what Krishna talks here. And such people always quote a story from Bhagavad. You know which story is that? Story of Ajamala. What is that story? Anybody knows?
Yeah, he calls his son, I guess.
Correct.
Right?
Narayana. His
Narayana.
son's name was Narayana. So then Vishnu devotees, that is only a dream. If you read Bhagavata, that was his dream. It is only because of his good karma he got that dream, and that dream changes him completely. After that, he goes to Haridwar. He does pranayama, meditation, and all these Ashtanga yoga and get enlightened. So that's the story. So a lot of people conveniently uses this story to say that, yeah, that's why, right, when we all study Gita or when we try to propagate Gita, they say, right, you are not yet retired. So people say that. A lot of people think that this teaching is post-retirement. No, it won't work. So that is the three things. So today we saw three verses. Three verses were mainly talking about what is the meaning of remembering Lord at the end of your life. Because it means Krishna said, those people who are connected with me, means at the time of death, they will come to me directly. And then on verse 6, Krishna said, whatever is the predominant mental condition of a person, his gati will be determined by that. It will go like that. So if he is spiritually interested, that would be the gati of his soul. Remember, what is the difference between soul and Atma? Soul is the subtle body. The subtle body that transmigrates is soul, whereas Atma is something which does not travel, right? Atma is the reflection of that Brahman in the body, mind, intellect. That is Atma. So we need to be very clear. One of the challenge I'm observing, when people study Bhagavad Gita, you have to use the proper metaphysical framework to understand Gita. So if you use a Western Christian metaphysical framework, you may get confused. Of course, that framework is fantastic for studying Bible, but that may not be useful for studying Gita. Here, the metaphysics means there is an entity which transmigrates, and there is an entity which do not change at all. And that entity which do not change is Atma, and that entity which transmigrates is soul or the subtle body, and that entity which dies and which perishes at the time of death is the physical body. So just keep that in mind. That will avoid a lot of confusion. So this is verse 7. And so we will continue to explore. The next topic is going to be Krama Mukti. Krama Mukti we are going to see. And some interesting discussions are there. So before we wind up, any questions or any topic, anything you want to discuss? We have 5 minutes. I really wanted to keep 5 minutes like this.
Rajesh.
Sorry.
Yeah. Please, both. I will answer both the questions.
Okay. So earlier you said Sattvic actions are called what? Panchamahabhuta?
Panchamahayajna, right? So, yeah. So the karmas are divided into three. Again, another model used, one model used in the Vedanta, which is borrowed from Sankhya, is called Sattva Rajas Tamas model. So the karmas can be categorized into three types: Sattvic karma or Sattva karma, Rajasiya karma, Tamasiya karma. So Sattvic karma is you're doing something, you might be a beneficiary, but it will benefit a lot of other people. And this Swati karma typically means they are called Pancha Mahayajna, 5 different offerings to the world. So one is Deva Yajna, meaning you are studying, means you are worshipping the Ishvara, that is Deva Yajna. Pitru Yajna means you are supporting and taking care of the family, living family also, not just the dead and gone. Some people just do the rituals for the dead one and ignore the living one. That's not what it is. Pitru Yajna, then Manushya Yajna, support the other human being. It need not be money, right? It might be sometimes time. It might be prayer for other people. All that are good. Manushya Yajna, then Pooda Yajna. Pooda Yajna means protecting the nature, because if the nature is not there, I'm not there. And Brahma Yajna, study and propagation of the scriptures. Right now, what we are doing is a Brahma Yajna. So these are 5 Yajna. These Yajnas are designed in our lifestyle for an overall improvement of our lifestyle. So because it is going to help us to purify ourselves. So this is what the karma, Panchamahayajna.
Thanks.
Yep. Poonaji, you had a question.
Yeah, I actually mentioned it in the beginning, right? So you gave some explanation after that, and then I didn't want to interrupt it at that point, but then you mentioned something about Krama Mukti, and you said you're going to elaborate that next week. So
your question was...
my question was, when Devi or any god comes and gives darshan to the devotee, that means he's already enlightened,
no,
right?
Not at.
Okay. So that means he got his
so this vision, right?
Okay, let's say he got the darshan of the Almighty. So what is his state of, why does he have to live after that? Once you get the darshan, then that's it, right?
No. If that is the case, Ravana got the darshana of the god. Darshana, again, you're thinking that you are seeing Ishvara as a separate entity, right? You're worshipping God for multiple purposes. If you take the Purana itself, some people worship Ishvara for what?
For material things, correct.
Why did Ravana worship?
For getting more power and everything.
Yeah, more for Bhoga and Aishwarya.
Correct.
So that people, their mind is not, second chapter clearly tells about that, right? Krishna tells, Yamimam pushpitam vacham prapatanti vipaschitaha veda vadarada partha nanyadarthidi vadinaha. And that's important. Kamat manas surgapara janma karma phalaprata kriya vishesha bahira bhogaishwarya gatim pratim. They worship God either for bhoga or Aishwarya. Aishwarya means power, Bhoga means enjoyment.
Correct. But in this case, God herself, because of the devotion he had for the Devi. So we had this question yesterday. So we're trying to find the answer. I got partial answer from you saying that, okay, whatever you wish, it happens, but that doesn't mean that you are enlightened.
Correct.
So you're seeing it as a separate deity. That I understood.
Yeah.
So after having the darshan, because mother wanted to help make sure that, everybody understands, the world understands his grace. The world understands that what kind of a devotee he is. So she comes to help him. And then after that, he still has to continue with the rest of his life as a good person or whatever, he has to finish that. So what happens in the next birth?
Next birth is like depending upon his karma.
Yeah, he has been had a wonderful life being a very good devotee of the Almighty.
Yeah. Okay. So depending upon whether he has known himself, right? That is the key point.
Okay. So jnanam is the key. Jnanam has to happen.
Yeah. Without knowledge, enlightenment will not happen. And without that, you will have to reborn.
Reborn.
He will be reborn. I'm nobody to judge him, but a possibility would be he would be reborn to continue his practice. So, and sometimes this vision, it is very tricky. It can be a mental feeling also.
Well, no, in this case, it's not, because the world sees the reason. So
okay, that's fine. Yep. I'm just telling, like, a lot of people,
I
their
understand.
vision is their mind also.
Yeah, even with Arjuna, when Krishna gives him the Vishwadurupam, we all don't know, right? Nobody else around the battlefield knows because it was a spell and everybody was under a spell. So no one knew that it was Krishna gave that darshan to him. But we believe.
Yeah, it's a matter of belief. That's it. But the point is, it is not having a means. I would strongly suggest you to read Swami Dayananda's commentary of this verse.
Vishwarupa?
No, actually, this verse, whatever we covered,
Oh.
he tells what is not moksha. All these cases you enlighten, means enumerated, he clearly calls out.
So which chapter? It's the same chapter 8?
Same chapter. Chapter 8, he tells Bhagavad Samipyam is not moksha.
Okay.
Bhagavad
So
going to
that
heaven
is
is not moksha.
So that is verse number.
I believe it is verse 5. Verse 5.
Okay, I got the book. I'll definitely.
Yeah. Please read exactly the same thing. Even if you see the God, that is not moksha. Moksha is different. We need to be very clear.
Very clear, correct.
Yeah.
No,
Moksha
I'm now
means
it
as
makes
long
sense.
as you feel that you are separate from God,
you're still okay.
Yeah.
No, and we don't know what that kind of an experience when I see the God in myself itself. So I don't know, because
it may inspire you to continue the studies. It may inspire you to pursue knowledge. It may accelerate my process. All that thing can happen, but nobody else can sleep for you like that. You have to know. And once you see that, right, in Valmiki Ramayana, actually Hanuman tells this, right? Beautifully tells. Actually, initial stage, the relationship between you and me is a master and a servant. Once I know a little bit more you, I feel that I'm connected to you. I'm a part of you. But ultimately, I know that you and me are the same. This is a brilliant verse by Hanumanji. So you see that in the Ramayana. So as long as you have that difference, he is different from me, enlightenment has not happened. But this is the reference. You can read.
So they are still with the bhakti mode. They're still in the bhakti mode.
Yeah.
Okay. One path, bhakti yoga.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. That's it. Any other questions?
Very interesting. Very nice. You answered my question.
This is the Advaita Vedanta.
Beautiful.
Means I'm just taking a word of caution. Like the devotees may not agree with me, but I'm following Advaita Vedanta very diligently. I personally feel that this is very logical and very systematic and scientific. Because
so, until you get the jnanam, even if you have bhakti yoga or the karma yoga, you still have to get that part.
Yep. Karma yoga is for mala nivritti, and upasana yoga is for vikshepa nivritti, and jnana yoga is for the avarana nivritti. And unless that avarana is not cleared, enlightenment will not happen. Chapter 7, Krishna tells, I am present everywhere, right? Like the taste of the water, the wetness of the water, the light in the sun, means the scriptures, whatever you are calling out. If you just open your eyes and look around, you cannot miss me, but still you miss me. And Vibhuti Yoga, the same thing is talked about. So I think that's where the clarity is very important. This is where people misses, and we all are lucky to, at least we all studied under the traditional master. This is where the traditional teaching is very important. What exactly unfolded by Shankara. It is not what you feel. It is what is taught, because that's why a teaching methodology is well-defined. The teaching methodology is given to us. And as I said, like Vedanta, the uniqueness is not what it teaches. It is the wonderful teaching methodology given to us. Like the Dridrishya Viveka, Panchakosha, Shariratraya, all these models are developed in such a way that you cannot miss it. It is such a logical framework. Okay.
Very nice.
We will wind up, Bhunaji. If you would chant the Purnamada, we can.
Oh, okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavaseshyate. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Thank you. So we will see on Thursday with Atma Bodha. So Atma Bodha, we are going to cover a wonderful topic called Nidithyasanam. So Nidithyasanam is a particular meditation which is different from Upasana. So we need to understand what exactly is the difference between the role and purpose of the normal meditation, which is for the Chitta Sthiti, and what is the role of this contemplative meditation or the Vedantic meditation known as Nidithyasanam. So that part we will elaborate. And we will start Patanjali Yoga Sutra from actually February, maybe from Shivaratri. We're just aligning the schedule. Sunday's morning. So we will communicate the timing. 11:30 would be the timing.
Thank you.